Croeso nôl, welcome back. Thank you for downloading and listening to Feel Us in Devotion, the podcast all about Wrexham AFC, of course, sponsored by the Fat Boar. Um, my door's back on. You'll be glad to hear,
Yeah,
Andrew.
I was going to ask you about this.
Mm.
How is your back door, Reese? And it's not a euphemism.
No, my back door was blown wide open last week.
Hey,
It was my, it
good
was the
Carry
door.
On
So
film.
So I've got it's my garden sort of cabin. Got PVC doors that I bought for 40 quid off Facebook, which have lasted well for 3 years, but somehow the wind opened it, took it off the latch, and it flew off. It has been fixed. I needed some new hinges, sadly, and that's come at a bad week, Andrew, to be honest, because we've had a calamitous couple of weeks because the boiler nigh on packed in. My mate Dan reckons he's got a couple of months left in it. And then the front water mains in front of my house burst.
Are you trying to
And
some sort of GoFundMe?
yeah, please buy me a coffee, not Fearless in Devotion, me, because I am a Strug City. But no, it's fine. It's all good.
Just
It's
OnlyFans, mate.
exactly, and it could have happened in a later time, which would have been worse. But we're back on. We're good to go. And also, obviously, no game this week. A short podcast tonight. This is just a little preview of the big FA Cup game on Monday. And if we needed to be reminded of the magic of the FA Cup, then it was Maidstone today, right, Andrew?
I'd say, why are you calling me Andrew?
I
Have I
just
done
like
something
it.
wrong?
No,
Only my mum calls me Andrew.
Andy,
Yeah, that's better. I'd say Maidstone today. Well done to them. I watched the second
brilliant.
half.
Hmm,
That's the classic cup, though, isn't it? Ipswich are all over them. Hit the post a couple of times in the first
class.
half. Maidstone have two chances. Take both of them. The keeper has a blinder. There's the
Yeah,
FA Cup in a nutshell. It happened. It's happened for us a couple of times against Arsenal. More or less exactly the same thing.
yeah.
Ipswich. It's not like they weren't trying. Just
No,
Maidstone just had one of those afternoons, and fair play to the keeper. You need a story in the FA Cup. That
yeah.
guy's the story. Well done to
I
him.
I absolutely loved the last 10 minutes when everyone was going down with cramps. As if you needed an idea of the gulf. All of the Maidstone players, none of the Ipswich players were. Fair play to them. They played really well, defended their asses off, and yeah, buzzing for them. Hopefully they can get a good draw in the next round. On the pitch in League Two, a very good day for us. Tim is joining us as well, but Andy, in the meantime, I mean, except for Stockport, most, if not all of the results went our way, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those afternoons where we've actually strengthened our position by not playing, and that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen very often. Good Barrow and not to get a draw. I'm all here for that content. Crew lost, didn't they? You want some of those to start dropping down, don't you? You want that bit of a buffer. So I think I worked it out that if we win our two games in hand, we're 8 points clear of the sides below us. Obviously, Mansfield will still be in and around us because we're not that far from them. But yeah, is Tim coming in or not?
It is unknown, and it's a unique hairstyle he's got going on today. So looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, you look at
Get his
that.
head out the window for on down the A55.
Oh dear,
He's like Doc
the
Brown.
the Mansfield, as you say, losing after drawing at home against Sutton last week. I mean, they seem to have hit a bit of a wobbly patch, haven't they?
Well, everyone's going to do it, mate. We're going to have a
Yeah,
spell where we lose a few, and what we can't do is throw the baby out with the bathwater, like we probably did last weekend. Because it was crisis stations last weekend, but look at it now. Everything's come back around again, and all you need is one good win and a couple of your rivals dropping points, and everything looks rosy again. So yeah, I fully expect us to lose two games in a row. And after that second game, I will be calling for Phil Parkinson's head, but then I'll probably take 12 hours, get over myself, and I think things will be all right again.
good idea. Let's talk about quickly transfer news. We signed McNicholas, goalie. That seems decent
I think that
signing.
was always set, wasn't it? We're always going to do
Yeah,
it. It's one of those loans, and
formality. Mm.
yeah, as long as he doesn't come here and both his hands fall off, and He starts jumping over the ball when it gets near him, which we have had keepers that do that.
Yeah.
Then I think it was always,
Let's
one
hope
for the
not.
future.
And there's some rumours about this evening. What Aaron Collins seems to be a persistent one that's popped up, hasn't it?
Do you know anything about him being your sort of neck of the woods?
No. All I
Are you
know is
trying
he
to say
played.
everyone in South Wales doesn't know each other?
Well, yeah, actually, I know most of them, but not Aaron Collins because he moved to Bristol. See, we don't know him when they move away.
Okay, right, fair enough.
But from his highlights reel, he looks pretty tidy.
So did Bobby Grant.
Fair comment.
Yeah. Everyone can look good from a highlight reel. I reckon I look probably half decent in a highlight reel. But, I think from reading what Rovers fans have been saying, on his day, this guy is brilliant. He's like just off the front man, more of maybe a Mullin sort of type player rather than a battering ram centre forward. And he's a confidence player, but when his confidence is running, he's more or less unplayable. And he's sort of, I think he's gone backwards this season, but he has been playing League One. So if he comes to us, gets a good start, we could have a player on our hands. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know if we're going to break our transfer record again.
Tim, do you know anything about this Aaron Collins rumor? Welcome, by the way.
No, not really. Just that he's being rumoured, and that's really about it. So if we take a player off Newport County's hands and go Parky.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I think it'll be Bristol Rovers, but yeah.
Oh, same fucking area, innit? One of those down there somewhere.
They are very close together, to be fair. And yeah, I mean, let's move on anyway, because we do have a game this weekend. We will be doing a short mini pod, by the way, after this game, after the Blackburn FA Cup game, unless we get battered, and I don't think we'll bother, will we?
No, absolutely. We will pretend that game didn't happen, really.
Yeah, we'll only do it if we can gloat. But we do have a Blackburn Rovers related guest for you today.
We hope. We hope.
This
is coming from across the pond. So again, like if we lose at Blackburn, if this guy doesn't show up, we'll just pretend it never happened.
Yeah, exactly. It's not Matt Derbyshire. We'd love to have Matt on, by the way. If anyone knows him, Ben, if you know Matt Derbyshire, drop us a line because we love him. But yeah, let's talk about Blackburn quickly. More tickets went on sale, didn't they? So that would be a big away following. You're both going, right?
Tim, do you reckon that's the biggest away following since when?
I kind of want to say Stoke in the FA Cup. I think that was about 6. I'm sure we had 7 at Birmingham in 1997, but that fluctuated a bit. Old Trafford, we had a lot same year. But in recent times, definitely a healthy amount. But I think Stoke was like 2014, I want to say.
15, I think.
Yeah.
Freezing. I can seem to remember it's freezing.
Yeah, it was Wilkin, wasn't it? And we had that big away stand, not dissimilar to Blackburn's away stand, I suppose. So yeah, it's I don't know what the extra ticketing was because they never really specified it. Rumours are it was about 500. But I imagine Blackburn just said, yeah, we'll give you a few more tickets. Just please don't tell everybody how many you're getting because you're already embarrassing us as it is. So, but either way, you're going to be looking at probably 15, 16,000. So good crowd, vociferous. It's a very loud away in that, so it's gonna pop when we score, which we will.
Should be quite the occasion, Andy. I mean, what fourth round is a decent return, and obviously they're a championship side, so they'll be coming into it as big favourites regardless of form. I mean, what would you hope for? Just a bit like Coventry and even Sheffield United away last year. Just give a good account of ourselves and get a goal.
I'm happy with a glorious defeat. I want us to either win or go out. I don't really. Yeah, I mean a draw just.
No, get him back at the racecourse, man.
Maybe
better than a loss.
Not for that one, logistically. But yeah, I mean, you go away and you lose to Blackburn. It's not the end of the world. I do have a sneaky, like Tim. I've got a sneaky feeling we could pull something off here. I think Blackburn are very much a confidence team. I think they've got like 1 win in 10. They've only got 2 fit centre backs at the moment. It just screams upset to me, and it's horrible for me to say that because I don't really like to big ourselves up. But I think on something like this, let's have a bit of confidence about it. I mean, why shouldn't we? I think the likes of Dolby will come in. I think Mullin will play. I think it will be a first choice team after that. I'd like Max to have a good game. I think Arthur will step up to the occasion. There's a question back on about who's going to play right wing back for me, but I think apart from that, the team's really going to pick itself. It's going to be the strongest team we have available with the extra mobility of Dolby up front, I'd say anyway.
Buzzing for it. Should be a good game, and it's on TV, so that's always exciting.
Yeah, Wrexham on TV. That never happens.
And you've got some intel as well. What can you tell us about who we come up against? There's a Wrexham-born player at Blackburn,
there's a
isn't
lad
there?
called Jack Vale. I think he's been given a new deal, but I think he's mostly going to be a bit part player. You would sort of think that maybe FA Cup fourth round at home against lower opposition, maybe they might give him a try. I think those sort of higher teams always like to mix in a first 11 with a couple of people coming through, people on the fringes. I think the main guy is a guy called Sam Smodics, who, even though he sounds foreign, is from Colchester. But he's 28. He's an attacking mid. He's got 16 goals this season. He sort of plays in the pocket. He breaks the lines quite deep, quite late. The sort of arriving in the box sort of midfielder. So I think he's your sort of main danger area there. But as I said, they've only won 1 in 10.
Yeah,
we've got a chance here. Come on, Tim. We've got a chance, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got a chance, but I don't know. Just part of me thinks that lightning's not going to strike twice in as many years. As much as I do think we've got a really good chance, because it keeps coming back to the whole thing is we just don't lose successive games. We just don't do it. So by that logic, I'm not expecting us to lose on Monday. So I take a draw probably, if I'm honest, because I think both teams have got a point to prove. They're on the slide. They're kind of treading water. Their fan base is split. They're not a fan of their owners. And John Dale Tomlinson is doing a reasonably decent job with the sort of cards he's got, really. So, but the Wrexham are going to come out flying because it's a free hit, and they played so poorly last week that they're going to want to show that was one that they've put to the back of their minds, really. So I think it'll be entertaining. I think there'll be plenty of goals in it. And I want us to. I do want us to, because I've got this nagging feeling we're either going to draw Spurs or Maidstone. It's going to be one or the other.
I'll take either. Right, we've got a guest in the waiting room. I'm going to admit him. It's going to be slightly different. He's just going to talk because he's out and about, so we won't be able to do any video. But it's fine. They can see us. So I'm going to let him in now. Let's see if this works. Connecting to audio.
Love this bit.
Yeah,
it's
this
my favorite bit of the
best,
podcast.
isn't it? John, can you hear us? You're on mute.
Give me a sec.
Hey,
can you hear me?
John. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Thanks very much for doing this.
No problem.
Right, just to let people know, we're with John Curtis. John started at Manchester United, played a few seasons at Blackburn, had a good career in the game, came to us probably around about the back end of his career. He was a signing by Dean Saunders, played a handful of games at the end of the season, and then went back into the league. So we wanted to talk to John just because he can tell us a bit about the Cup, but also he can sort of say what it's like to play for Blackburn, and to a lesser extent what it's like to play for Wrexham. Firstly, John, can I ask where are you at the moment?
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. This is where I live now. So it's nice and warm over here. I'm looking at palm trees in the out my apartment window. So yeah, it's a bit different to the northwest of England and North Wales, let me tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the heating on, and I very rarely put the heating on, but tonight I'm making an exception. John, let's go back to the start. Coming through United at Fergie, under the likes of Fergie, you were around the club when they won the treble. Did you, when they won the FA Cup, were you in the squad at all?
Yeah, I was, throughout that time, basically, from really kind of 97, 98, 99, I was in and around the first team all the time. always, I look back at it now and think how amazing it was, but I always missed out on being on the bench in the Premier League because there was only 5 subs, but I was always on the bench in the Champions League because there were 7 subs back then.
Right.
So, I actually bought my first house with Champions League bonuses that we got from those Champions League campaigns back in the day. Yeah, so I was there. Listen, I was there and about. I like to think that I had a front row seat on everything that was going on. It was fantastic.
Yeah, we're talking a lot about the FA Cup in this episode. I mean, what sort of how much does the FA Cup mean to you, and how much does it mean to sort of players coming through at that time? I know it's sort of diminished a little bit now, but back then it was still the premier sort of competition, really, wasn't it?
Oh, I see. Listen, it's got so much history, hasn't it? It's fantastic competition. I was lucky enough to play in a FA Cup semi-final at Old Trafford for Sheffield United against Arsenal, and it's just an amazing competition. And like you say, maybe it's been somewhat diminished, but even if you think about the League Cup, the Premier League teams and even the top Championship teams, they need to focus on the league. So you can understand them playing squad players or rotating the squads a little bit in cup competitions, and that has taken away a little bit from the FA Cup. But I think as soon as you start getting into the latter stages, they take it very seriously because it's a competition worth winning.
Yeah, I mean, you can always tell, even the League Cup, which is some sort of, it's not really seen as the premier one, but by the end of it, the final always seems to be two of the top 6, really, doesn't it? It's quite hard still for lower clubs to sneak into that. John, can I take you back to your Blackburn days? So Graham Souness signed you. You were ever present in your first season. I think in the FA Cup that year, didn't you go out to Arsenal? But can we just say thanks for beating Chester? Because I'm pretty sure you beat Chester in the run up to that, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think we got beat away at Highbury as it was then in the cup, if I remember rightly. So as a newly promoted team, obviously the focus is get promoted and stay in the division. And we were lucky enough to do that. We really had a pretty decent squad. The kind of the bones of it was from the squad that had been relegated a few years ago and only really played in the Championship for 2 or 3 years, I believe, before it got promoted again. So, it was a pretty decent group of players. But we actually won the League Cup with Blackburn. But as playing for Blackburn, I don't recall ever getting too far in the FA Cup. I think we always, got beat pretty early.
I'm just looking through that squad now. So
Yeah.
David Dunn, Duff, McAteer, Matt Jansen, who of course played for us for a little bit as well. Wow, that was some team. That was probably the last sort of really good Blackburn team before they've had quite a bit of trouble, really, isn't it? Do you sort of keep up with what's happening there now?
Oh, 100%. Listen, I keep an eye on all the teams, even Wrexham. I was only there for a short period of time, but obviously got really high profile with what's been going on over the last few years, particularly over in America. But I always keep an eye on. I want all my kind of former teams to do well. I had a lot of clubs, so I'm busy keeping up with everybody, and to see Wrexham flying, towards the top of the league is great. Blackburn, obviously different story. They've had a bit of a bad run, but the Championship's so tight. 2 or 3 wins on the bounce, and they'll be back up, pushing towards playoffs hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at their form, it's not great at the moment. 1 in 10.
No.
What's it like playing at Ewood Park? Is it a sort of place that the crowd can turn on you if things aren't going well, or is it largely supportive?
No. Listen, I always found it great, but if you think about when I was playing for Blackburn, the club were doing really well.
Yeah.
So now gates are down a little bit, but I think that the group of supporters, the core group of supporters that they have there, the 10 or 12,000 that they get regularly, the hardcore, I think are really supportive. They're proper football fans, knowledgeable. They've seen the club win the Premier League. They've seen the League Cup when I was there. Yeah. So they know success, but they understand it's it's a tough competition. Both the cup competitions and that championship is ridiculously tough. It's a bit like the conference as it was when I was playing for Wrexham. It takes, it's so hard to get out of that division. People don't realise.
No, I know it was quite tough. We'll probably get back to that in a second. But can I first just sort of take you back to when you signed for us? Now, Dean Saunders signed you. There's usually a crazy story in how Dean signs someone. It usually involves a motorway service station, him moving salt and pepper shakers around. Was it straightforward for you, or were there some sort of clandestine 2 a.m. meeting?
It was brilliant. It's funny. I actually saw Dino. I think it would have been back in 23 when I was home last. I saw him at Crewe train station. I think he had got his driving ban, hadn't he? So he was getting on the train down to Talk Sport to do his
talking about
his usual stuff. But anyway, so I was sat next to him on the train for a few stops. But no, what happened was after I left QPR, I basically got injured, and I got injured quite badly with a long-term groin injury, and I was out of contract. And a friend of mine was the Charlie McParland was the coach at Notts County at the time, the manager in Notts County, and he let me do my rehab at Notts County. So I was basically rehabbed for almost that whole season.
Right.
Notts County didn't have a reserve team, so I couldn't play any game towards the end of your rehab when you need to start playing games again. There wasn't anywhere to play games, so I rang my mate at the time, Richard Dryden, who was manager of Worcester City. I think they were in the Conference South. And I said, Rich, can I come and play a couple of games? I'm getting fit again. I need some match practice. So I played a game for Worcester City, and kind of like the non-league paper got hold of it. And they ran a story, ex-Man United player now playing for Worcester City, how the mighty have fallen kind of thing. then Dino gives me rings me off, says, Kurt, hey, see, what are you doing playing for bloody Worcester City? Come and play for me. I need a right back. Come and play for us. So I said, yeah, no worries. So I signed and then played, I think it was about the last 10 games, 10 games of that season in the conference, trying to get us promoted. But it was tough, because I think you look at the conference or the National League now, and there's some big clubs in it. I think when I was playing with Wrexham in that league, I think we were kind of regarded as almost the biggest club in that league. So it was like a cup final every weekend, which made it doubly hard. That
sounds like
really,
what it
really
is
tough.
now. Everyone hates us, so we're now everyone's cup final again, but for very different reasons now.
There you go. Exactly.
John, I'm gonna have to do this. So there's towards the back end of that season, we lost to Oxford, which is fine. I'm happy to lose to Oxford, Altrincham, Kettering, and Ebbsfleet in quick succession. How much of a culture shock is that for you? You're buying houses from Champions League bonuses, and now you're losing to
exactly.
To
I can remember playing down there. I think one game we played in, it was sleeting sideways, on a Tuesday night or something like that in March or something like that. And I was just thinking, wow, how tough it. You know what it took me back to? It took me back to playing for United, playing for the A team, playing for the reserve team. When you play in the likes of Marine and people like that. It really took me back, because people don't realise, people just think they see all the glory of playing for Man United, but in reality, the hard work and the graft is there behind the scenes, and you don't get anywhere without being able to be able to do that. So it's I'd kind of been there and done it. I had no when you come through that system, you don't have any airs or graces. It's what it takes to get there. So I had the right kind of education.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw some names from that squad. What was the likes of Jefferson Louis like? And do you remember a player called Oriel Colleen, who I think actually went and made it
We had a very good career over here in the MLS.
Yeah, you say.
Yeah. Andy, I'm not letting you get away with pronouncing Oriel. Jesus wept.
Yeah. No, he did really well. Yeah, I saw him over here. Like that was a good squad of players. You know, it was some decent players in that group. And you think about what's his name, the young left back who went to play on for Swansea in Wales. Yeah, Neil Taylor, of course. Yeah, you know, fantastic. There's some real quality in there. But you know, that just goes to show you how tough that division is to get out of. It is really, really tough. You know, you put League One, League Two teams into the National League or the conference as it was back then, they would struggle to get out of that division. That's how tough it is. It's and you can see it now. You know, you see Wrexham towards the I think second, Notts County up there as well. The teams that do get promoted and into League Two, then some of the top teams in that division, you know, straight off the bat. So you know, it speaks a lot to that point.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's good you're there to help the likes of Neil Taylor through. I'm sure he was glad of your help, even if you weren't there for that long. I mean, can I just have a word about Jefferson Louis, because he's got a bit of a cult status on this. What was he like? Was he? Oh, how can I put this? He was a one-off, wasn't he?
Yes, a character. But the thing is, you know, and this is me. The people say, you know, I play golf a lot these days, but I had more clubs than Jack Nicklaus. So, you know, I saw a lot of players. So it was kind of water off a duck's back to me at that point in my career. I'd kind of been and seen it all. By that point, I think I'd played in every division in the country. So, but yeah, you know, mercurial might be the word to describe him.
Let's move across to what you're doing now. You're coaching out in the US. How big is football becoming out there?
Yeah, growing. It's still a long way behind. It's, you know, culturally, American football, basketball, and baseball still dominate. But soccer, as they say, is you know, is growing. It's become a lot more popular with the concussion problems that American football has had. So I think a lot of families and parents would much rather their kids participate in proper football than American football. So that's seen a you know, a kind of shift. But it's the same everywhere in the kind of the Western world, that participation in sports, I think, is declining. I don't think it's the kids are not playing in the street. I don't think they really ever have here. And you know, that's becoming less and less in England, certainly, and even in places like Brazil, where you think that they're playing street football all the time.
Yeah,
but it's just becoming less and less and less everywhere. There's so many things to do, so many computer games to play. But it's you know, youth football over here is big. Yeah, it's very big. It's always been very big on the girl side. But I think now it's grown a lot. The NBC, who have the rights to the Premier League, do a fantastic job of kind of promoting the Premier League in the US, and that's got a bit of a cult following over here now. Saturday and Sunday mornings, the coverage is fantastic. You know, I can watch every Premier League game on a weekend, no problem. Sit there from 7:30 in the morning till 2 or whatever, and I've basically watched all of them. They're all on live, so I can choose who I watch. So it's a little bit different to at home, which is nice. And even the Championship games now we get to see. Obviously, all the FA Cup games are live. There's games on right now, so it's good from that standpoint. And the Premier League isn't the only league. You know, there's lots of La Liga coverage. There's lots of Mexican and South American football, Bundesliga. There's so many immigrants, aren't there, in the States, who have kind of allegiances with different countries all around the world. And you know, it's big, but it's still, you know, it's playoffs for American football this weekend, and it pales into insignificance when you talk about NFL.
Yeah. I mean, you say you can watch Championship. Can you watch Wrexham? How big are we out there? What has this Rob and Ryan story really cut through, do you think?
Yeah, I think the Netflix series has done wonders for kind of the profile. You know what I think it's that I've seen, and speaking to my mates when I play golf with or whatever, they all have this intrigue about buying a club. I think what it spiked more than anything, rather than watching Wrexham, it's actually kind of like buying a club. People with money want to buy a club, and all these. There's so many American billionaires buying clubs now. But if you think about it, it's not that pricey to buy a non-league club. So, and there's a lot of wealthy people in America who could actually do it. They know nothing about football, absolutely nothing at all, but just I think they like the kind of romance of it all. So it's definitely
nothing about football. Never stopped an owner before, John. You know that.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Even some of the British guys.
Yeah. So right before we leave you, any other questions, Reese, Tim? Any questions for John before we do the prediction?
I was going to say I just want to hear his prediction, but I wanted to say I found really interesting what you were saying about participation in sport, because it's something that I live in Swansea, and the number of football teams. Someone told me a stat the other day I found mad. The number of 11-a-side football teams, amateur teams playing on a Saturday, has more than halved in the last 8 years.
Unbelievable.
And it just seems like people. And I was wondering whether I'd thought in the past that we'd kind of become almost more Americanized as a society, where I'd always got the impression when I visited America that they're a sports mad country, but they're more mad on watching it than playing it, if that makes sense. I don't know whether that is a dodgy perception.
No, 100%. It's definitely true. It's entertainment. And I think the Americans do a better job than anybody in putting on a show. They make it glamorous. They make it, you only have to watch Kansas City Chiefs playing every 5 minutes. It goes to, Taylor Swift in the crowd. It's show business is what it is. And yes, it's a lot about watching. There is no, like I said, there is no unorganized sport. Everything is organized. Everything. There's no off the cuff. Let's go down the park and throw jumpers down and have a kick around. There seems to be less of that. And if even today, you see a bit of it. You see a lot of pickup in New York. And I think, I used to live up in Connecticut. In the Northeast, you see I think the kind of football, the soccer kind of culture is probably bigger than when you come down south to where I am in South Carolina and Georgia and places like that. I think then American football dominates, particularly college American football. That's huge. That's not even on people's radars in the UK. People don't even think about that, but that's absolutely massive down here, college sports, but particularly college American football. But I think you're right. I think Americans do a great job at watching it rather than participating in it. They enjoy that.
If it is show business, hopefully that stands us in good stead for the future in our ongoing attempts to break America. Tim, any questions from you?
Yeah, just something we touched on earlier on, really. Everybody's aware of the kind of rag to riches story of Jack Walker at Blackburn, obviously been in the Premier League back in the day. Do you see any similarities between that and what Wrexham could conceivably achieve in future, whether that's reaching, not necessarily winning the Premier League, but, getting to those heights because of the financial implications around the club now, the sort of deep pockets we've got? Do you see that? Can you see if there's a pathway for that to happen with Wrexham?
Oh, listen, the pathway, and that's the beauty of kind of sports in the rest of the world rather than in America. This is the problem with it over here. The kind of model of the league is such that it's a franchise, and you can't get relegated, you can't get promoted. There's no limits in the UK or in the rest of the world in terms of what you can achieve. The limitations that there obviously see it in the Premier League now with the financial fair play. There are rules and regulations that owners have to adhere to. But if you have the financial backing, if you have the will, if you're prepared to throw money at it like Jack Walker did back in the day with Blackburn, then you can absolutely build success. And I think and you still see it today with Blackburn, although they're underperforming where they are as a club, that what Jack Walker did, he built a sustainable model for the club. And I think that's really going to be really important for Wrexham. It can't be, those guys are not going to be there forever. Right now it's brilliant. They're riding the crest of a wave, but ultimately something's going to happen where they're not there. Thankfully, they're young guys and healthy guys. Jack was was a lot older when he got involved with Blackburn, or certainly when Blackburn won the league. You know, he was probably well into his 70s then. So I think building a sustainable model is going to be absolutely key. Investment in the training ground, investment like we're seeing now in the stadium, modernizing the stadium, making sure that the commercial element is there within the stadium. Like, I'm bringing 30 people over to England next month. If I called the club and said, we want to bring 30 Americans over, they would probably sell out the club shop in jerseys, and that's the way they are. And the club has the potential to kind of attract that type of audience now. So rather than go and watch, Man City versus Chelsea, we might come and watch Wrexham versus Notts County. And from an American standpoint, watching it, they may get as excited. There's a lot of upside if it's done properly.
That brings us neatly onto your prediction. No fence sitting, please. One or the other. Who's it going to be?
Well, listen, you've got Wrexham flying high in League Two. You've got Blackburn in poor form in the Championship. It's going to be a tight one. I think that Blackburn have probably a little bit too much quality. So I would predict 2-0 to Blackburn.
John,
okay.
we'll let you get back to your idyllic lifestyle, looking at the
palm trees,
from the balcony, and at the heat of South Carolina. Thanks so much for joining us. And do you want to just quickly say the company you've got over there, just in case there's any American listeners who might need your services?
Yeah, sure. No, we run an organisation called NCE Soccer, the National Centre of Excellence. And it's about providing pathways and opportunities for talented players. The system here is totally kind of broken. So having a legitimate kind of pathway and something, an organisation that actually looks after the best interests of the player rather than the club or the team, I think is very unique, and that's what we try and do and push the kids on, because there's a lot of opportunities for them.
John, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
John.
Bye.
Cheers,
Bye.
John. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
That was John Curtis. Thank you very much to John for his time. What an interesting guest, Tim.
He's now turned into a dog. If you're watching this on YouTube, I don't know what's happened there, but it's an unexpected change, and it's like if that's his avatar, then something's gone wrong. Anyway,
that's buckled.
I was actually going to make a fun joke which ties in with the dog just before that, so that's kind of spooky. I was going to say, because he didn't show us his camera, I reckon he was talking to us from a high-rise flat and barking, and then the dog came on. Can you believe it? Yeah, it was good. Do you know what his full name is?
Are you going to say something, John Jeremiah, something oldie worldy? Is it?
It's quite mad. It's John Charles. I can take that if you know you want football. John Charles Keyworth Curtis. How bizarre!
Keyworth. We should have asked him about that.
Keyworth. Yeah,
Get
John Charles. Yeah, woof woof. Get him back on. Yeah,
right, go on.
Let's wrap this up. FA Cup, Andy. Obviously, we've got a proud history in the cup. I mean, for those of us, I know we got some new listeners to the podcast over the last 6 months. I mean, talk us very briefly about Wrexham's history in the cup, Andy.
I think history started in the 70s, just because that's when everyone started to write about it. There was probably loads before, but that's a long time ago. 70s, we got quarterfinals a couple of times. Tim, help me out here. He's put me on the spot.
I think. I mean, I'm going off my own thing, but obviously under Brian Flynn, it became synonymous. We all know that. Yeah. It was Arsenal. It was Birmingham. It was that particular cup run to the quarterfinals that year, and then it just become that thing. We were just good in the FA Cup, whether it's Arsenal, whether it was Ipswich, whether it was Middlesbrough. We just seemed to have like a decent cup pedigree, which back then, for the most part, was a welcome distraction. Yeah, it was like a nice bit of respite from the league, which probably wasn't great. So, And now we're in sort of dreamland days where we're having some good times in the league, and we're just having the freedom to do what we like in the cup competition. So I love it. I love the FA Cup. Love it.
What was your favourite game? Come on, let's lay it out there.
I was thinking about this before, and I've kind of got a couple, and the reason I say it because one was a defeat, which was when we lost 5-2 at Old Trafford, Man United, and the reason it's like why is that one of your favourite games? It's because of the spectacle, the occasion. I think it was like 4 days after Cantona got sent off with a kung fu kick at Crystal Palace, so that added to the narrative surrounding the game. We took, I want to say 8,000-9,000, so similar to Monday. Took over the place. We were wearing that spectacular gold and black kit.
What a kit!
Kieran Durkin goes and sticks it through Michael's legs in the early doors. Sticks.
Can I just say, I don't know if I've said this before in the podcast, but it's the best 7 minutes of my life.
It was wild.
When we were 1-0 ahead at Old Trafford, Fortress Old Trafford. There was only 2 teams that scored 2 goals at Old Trafford that season, and we were one of them. It's the best 7 minutes of my life. I had my left shoe off for some reason, and I thought it was good luck, so I left it off for the rest of the game. My left foot was freezing. This is what you do.
It was just good because Ferguson showed Wrexham the greatest respect. Him and Flynn got on really well anyway, but he showed it was such a good, strong team, and it showed. And Jonathan Cross got a deflected goal towards the end, which flew past Michael. I love that one just because it was like, yeah, we're here. We've earned this moment, and despite the scoreline, it was still great. And they did the whole thing at the end, but they all came over and bowed. The whole Wayne's World we're not worthy thing, which is really good. Probably my favourite one was probably.
So that wasn't your favourite. You just spent 3 minutes talking about it.
I said I had 2. If you'd listened,
right? Okay.
I said I had 2, and I said one was a defeat, but then the other one's a toss up. Either between Coventry because it was great last year, or probably Birmingham. I loved the Birmingham one. It was so good. Just everything about it, the kit, the team we played. You know, like they had Steve Bruce, Anders Limpar, all these decent players. Gary Ablett playing for Birmingham, and we just took over the place and won really, really convincingly. It was just brilliant. Loved that. That was a special moment in a special run. You know, getting to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. For the league we were in is insane. I'd love to know what teams have done it since. There's probably a few, but I can't think who they'd be.
I just want to quickly say mine. Mine was Brentford away, 2013.
Oh, yes.
I just think that was when I was most connected to the club because we had a great team and we were fans owned, and I was just so willing us to do well. I liked the squad, I liked the manager, I liked what we were trying to do. I just felt felt so close to me at that point, and I just think it was such a great atmosphere. We were in the bottom tier of the 2-tiered away end. The noise was fantastic. I was with people I'd not seen for a bit, like Scottish Pete. He loved it. He said the best atmosphere he has ever been in. It was a great goal to win it. I don't remember anything about the match. I know it
was terrible. All I remember is the same as you. The noise was unbelievable there. Unbelievable goal with Jamie Tolley. And then we spent about 70 minutes where it seemed to be that nothing happened other than we defended. I don't think we came close to a chance, and it just was just 7, and it was all towards us in the second half.
I had a run in with a Brentford wannabe football hooligan in the build up to that match, because obviously the old Brentford's ground, Griffin Park, wasn't there? A pub on each corner, so we did all the pubs. We just took the piss. We put like Chaz and Dave on the jukebox, and we just go rabbit, and just done all this sort of crap. Just generally taking the piss.
I feel like punching you. I'm a Cockney.
Yeah, we're the Cockney boozer. Let's do it. And then some lad took a proper umbrage to it. He swapped numbers with one of my mates. He goes, right, phone me after the game, and we'll square it up after the match. And like, I don't know. I think my mate must have given him my number as well, because he kept on phoning me after the game. I was like, who's this? And he's like, oh, we've got a score to settle. I was like, fuck off, mate. We just beat your team. I'm going back home to Wrexham. I think so. It's just a weird thing beforehand, but yeah, what a goal that was. That was a goal. It was Tolley, wasn't it?
It was absolute pile driver of a half volley. Beautiful.
All right. Is that your favorite? Right. I know we're getting to the end now. Is that your favorite goal?
My favorite FA Cup game, possibly. I tell you what, I'll go different because you picked that one. I'll actually say the Brighton home game, where I know we lost on penalties, but
Yeah.
again, same as you, Andy. I loved that team. Absolutely loved them. Obviously, we've had half of them on the podcast. They're just heroes of ours, and we were just the better side so comfortably. So obviously, it stunk that we lost on
Danny
pens, but we
Rice.
should have won. We dominated, and it was just the race course was absolutely rocking. It was full, and yeah, brilliant match, and yeah, loved it.
Let's repeat it Monday. Right, should we do predictions?
Yes.
Tim, do you want to go first, mate?
I reckon we will win 2-1.
Oh, I was going to go with that. Ooh, right.
You
okay.
still can.
No, I can't be the same as you.
Nobody can.
I think
You go third, Andy, because I'm going to be negative. I think we're going to lose 3-1. You go last.
Lose 3-1. Yeah, okay. I think we're going to give it a bloody good go. I think there will be goals. I think. Oh, you know what? We're going to win 3-2.
Yes, come on, let's go.
Reece has just morphed into Liam Roberts. Get in
there.
Get in. Go on, Liam.
Good lad is Liam. Right. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back on Tuesday if we win. If we lose, we won't be asked.
We'll pretend
if that's the case.
Yeah.
If that's the case, see you next week. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
See you.
Up to 7,500 Reds. Come on, get in there. See you.